In this episode, I'll give you an introduction to the offlane and what it means to me to be an offlane player. The most important things to know about the offlane role is to understand what your role is in your team, to understand the priority of your roles and how to position yourself on the map. So the way you want to think about the offlane is that you're position 3, which means that you're the core in your team who has the least farm priority. That means that usually you're the hero that scales the least with farm, but also that you have the earliest power spike out of all 3 cores. So you want to think yourself, okay, like I'm stronger than the 2 other cores in my team, that means that I want to be fighting the most. That means that I need to put myself against the enemy team and in the most high-risk areas of the map. So what you want to be doing in most of the time is that you want to be annoying to the enemy team, and you want to poke and prod in order to both get information, in order to make fights happen, in order to make sure that you're having impact with your hero, and not only that you're like sitting behind other people and farming. You want to be the one that's actually taking control of the game. So sometimes, as the game goes on, you turn out to be more of a support than a core. After a certain point, that means that the 2 other cores in your team are like farmed enough to start taking control themselves. They are now stronger than you, and you need to kind of more sit back and support them. And this usually happens when you enter like the mid and late game, and you're pretty much playing to make sure that your carry or your mid hero can output as much damage as possible and with as little risk as possible. So the way of supporting your cores usually means that you're like the first one to go in, you're the one that's giving vision, making sure that they can have a good positioning. Maybe you're like stunning the enemy, maybe you're buying items like Solar Crest or Assault Cuirass that helps your team more than they help yourself. Can also just be that you're like putting yourself in a position where they cannot reach your team, but they have to go on you first. And that's just a way of making sure that your cores can do whatever they want, pretty much. I think some of the most common mistakes I see when people play offlane is that they tend to like fall back and be a little bit passive, which is, I think, sometimes fine, but it's usually what your carry wants to do or what your other cores want to do. So if you're also being passive, that means everyone's being passive. And that's not a good way to win a game of Dota 2. I think what you want to do, or what you want to avoid rather, is that you don't want to sit back and farm. You want to make sure that you're always doing something. You want to be active. You want to like take control. Even if you're playing on the defense and even if you're behind, you want to make sure that you're the one that's like setting up moves and being ready for the enemy to come to you. You don't want your carry to be the one like getting surprised. You want to make sure that you're in the front line of the battle at all times. So in this first replay I'll show you is a tournament game between us and Team OG that was played maybe a couple months ago when we actually beat them in this game. So I think this game was a very nice like introductory game for me, and I also played Mars, which I think is fun for a lot of people watching. A lot of people want to see me play Mars. So to give you a brief introduction to this game, I want to show you how I move on the map and what my role is in my team, and also how to be annoying. So if you can see in the replay right now, I think when you're lane against a carry, you basically just want to make sure that you can hit him as much as possible, deny all his creeps. You want to stop him from last hitting, and make sure that at the end of the laning phase that your carry is happier than the enemy carry. Of course, you also want to get farm yourself, but I think if I leave the lane with very little farm and the carry has very little farm, and my own carry has a lot of farm, usually that's going to mean that we're ahead. So in this game, Mika on my team is playing Drow Ranger, which is a kind of hard carry and a kind of slow carry that needs a lot of help in the early game. And my hero is really strong, so I'm ready whenever the enemy goes somewhere and whenever they're fighting us. I know I need to be ready to fight back or to make a move. So they start diving Mika on the top lane, and both me and Insania instantly TP in. And even though we don't kill anyone, I don't mind like TPing up her, because I know that this is the tower they're gonna want to push and they're gonna want to fight in. And I also know that me like sitting against Lifestealer is not really a hero that I'm gonna kill. So I'd rather play against hero like Bloodseeker on the map, which I know if I like arena him and spare him, he's gonna die. Another thing is that looking at our team, you can see that Drow Ranger, like by far, is the hero that needs the most farm and it's like the slowest and it's going to be strongest in the late game. Like if you compare like who do you want 6 items on, me on Mars or like Dragon Knight or Drow, you know, it's going to be Drow. You rather have 6 items on, and then it's going to be Dragon Knight, and then least of all, unfortunately, it's going to be Mars. But it also means that right now, at like 8 minutes into the game, I'm way stronger than all of these heroes. So you can watch as OD tries to gank me in the top lane, and even though they go on me, I'm like 1200 HP, I get all my spells off, and I don't even think I die, and we like turn it around, and we kill Saxa, and it means that their aggression from OG has like completely been stopped. And it means that Mika can just go back to farming, Koikman mid, he's not even connecting, he's doing whatever he wants, he just keeps farming, and I'm like ready to fight at all times. So in this part of the game, we've just been fighting top lane, and I'm out of HP and mana, and I'm like, okay, I need to be ready to fight, so I TP home in order to regen up. One thing I like about TPing home instead of running back and TPing out is that your TP is going to be ready for the next fight, which is important. I remember us talking about that we want to go push bottom, and I know because we just fought them and killed them top that their heroes are like all back in base and dead, which means that we have a lot of time to make our own move and we don't need to like be ready for them to gank our draw or something like that. Okay, something is happening here. Well, he's dead. I'm running bottom because I know we want to push the tower, and you can see on the minimap my team is going to move towards me because we're talking about these things. And once we start showing bottom, I see the enemy team start showing top. But I know that we don't want to fight right now. We'd rather just trade towers. If you can see, my DK is like 150 gold away from Blink because he's just been farming during all this time. He's never joined any place, which means that we have a very early Blink timing. Due to this, we can make our own move really quickly. It's not that important for me to have any Blink item for this move because we already have cash on our Dragonite. So we just run mid and we kill 2 people and we're really happy. I think it's important to understand that in this game, the Dragonite wants to rush a Blink. That means that I really don't want him dying or I don't want him getting ganked. And Draw, of course, I don't want him getting ganked. So I always need to put myself in a position of danger. So to summarize, what it means to be an offlaner is that you always want to be fighting the enemy because you have the strongest power spike early and a weaker power spike later, and you're the third priority farm of all your cores, which means that you're the core that's going to farm the least.